and other tasks that I had to take place. So that was all in passing. I didn't focus much on what was taking place with that video.
Not my priority.
Good. The defense has been obliterating the prosecution today.
Yeah,
No further questions.
Every single
Thank you
witness
for your time.
that the prosecution brought up today just
Nope.
got absolutely nuked.
Don't recross that.
This
Don't
guy's
redirect
going to come
that.
up and be like, do you have a cold cut trio that I can borrow?
It's just
for a
going to get
few
worse.
minutes?
Don't redirect
What is
that.
your
You let it
sole
go.
focus as you're sitting in that squad car addressing the potential active shooter?
The fact that I'm in a war
If
zone.
we were to come across a threat, to stop that threat, and if we weren't actively engaged with somebody that was a threat, to preserve life.
You
and
literally
find
just
anybody
called Kyle
who's
Rittenhouse not a
medical
threat.
assistance.
I hope.
In that
I don't know if
video that was just
Recross will do
shown,
it, but
it shows
so
that
you would
Officer
agree that
Krieger
Kyle
was
Rittenhouse was not a threat
outside
at the time.
the squad car. Do you know how he was outside the squad
One
car
question.
right before you backed up?
I don't remember him leaving our vehicle.
Can you play that exhibit again?
Defense. Can you just cue that back up for us, please?
Yeah, thank you. Do you guys have that? I mean, we can probably find it, but do you guys still have that available
He's
for
like-
us as your exhibit? Good God, what a disaster for the prosecution. I'm going to make gumbo in this guy's honor tomorrow.
Sounds delicious.
It does sound delicious. I love
I
a good
make a-
gumbo.
I make a wicked gumbo. I'm not even lying. Hey, Ty. I see you in the chat, Ty Beard. Are you available tonight? You want to hang out? Want to come on the stream and talk about stuff?
Can't wait to see how drunk Nick's going to be when I tune in later tonight after my stream.
I'm already fucking destroyed. It's embarrassing, but it's reality.
He did. He moved the gun. When you see it again, he moved the gun so he could walk more clearly.
Yeah.
And then he put his hands back up.
That was the whole manipulated the gun was literally, I want to move this away from hitting my legs.
He was behind the vehicle, kind of by the trunk area, and then jump in the passenger seat.
Yes, it appeared that he was exiting to retrieve something from our trunk. Attempting to retrieve something from the trunk, it appeared.
What kind of things do you have in the trunk?
That night we had medical supplies. I believe he had a type of ballistic vest that had plates in it that would have been more helpful for rifle rounds. And I don't recall if he had a rifle in the trunk that evening or not.
So it would be more helpful with rifle rounds, but perhaps not stop them?
Correct.
And you're talking about rifle rounds, you're talking about 223s fired from an AR-15 like the defendant had?
Correct.
You have nothing further.
What a waste of a redirect. Like, they shouldn't have even done redirect because it...
The jury's just thinking, I need to get out of this seat. I need to go home.
Let's break for the day.
Did they deny recross?
Obviously,
They don't need it.
please
Or they
don't
just,
I know they
yeah,
don't
just-
need it, but I'm
discuss
just
it.
curious if
Request
they
it.
denied
not
it.
even with members of your household.
Yeah, you got a whole weekend, jury. You
don't
need to
read
be
what you
quiet
say,
and
anything to do with the trial.
stay
Or
integrity.
anything else.
Stay integrous.
Integris.
Keep in mind that what I told you the first day.
After a certain number of drinks, I make up words.
Yeah,
This would be so hard for a jury because it's being televised. When
They're
trials
going-
aren't being televised, other people aren't watching, they don't want to chat. This would be so hard.
Everyone
Yes.
in that room is going directly home and talking to their spouse about it immediately.
Of course.
Because their spouses are all watching it on TV or here. Hi, if your spouse is on the jury, don't talk to them. Remember the
Spouse
judge's
is on the
instructions.
jury. Hit me up
Very forceful
afterwards.
and
I'd love to interview you.
But only after the jury has finished deliberating, of course.
After the verdict is
Not
rendered.
advocating for any kind of jury tampering.
No, I literally, if someone emailed me today
have
and
a
said,
wonderful
I'm on,
weekend, and,
my wife's
we'll
on the
see
jury,
Monday
I'm on the jury, I would say,
at
no,
8
no. After
And
the
would
trial.
you please go to the jury? You want to in the library or the jury room? Library, jury room. Please go to the jury room and speak with Mrs. Mataska.
I would like to once again remark about how much I love this
Thank you.
judge.
He is a phenomenal judge.
He is wonderful.
I would pay money to have this judge oversee every case that I do because even if you don't like his outcomes, he's consistent and he follows his interpretation of law, which is clearly discernible. You can disagree with his interpretation, but you can discern it. And if you can figure out what the judge's discernment of the law is, you can plan around it. And the fact that the prosecution has done a bad job of this so far is pretty pitiful.
Yeah, the judge isn't doing anything weird, and that's all you need. You need a judge who's consistent and easy to read and follows the law, and you can see where their line of thinking is. He's been very clear, and the jury's going to like him. It makes a difference. I mean, in all of the jury trials I did, when the jury feels at ease with the judge, it's so much easier for them to ask questions, to come to a verdict, and to feel like they are working with the court than to feel uncomfortable and on the back foot like they're fighting against the court. So it's really an important thing for the jury and the judge to have some kind of a harmony. But it's interesting.
Have you guys seen Liar Liar?
Yes, but it's been a long time.
Do you remember the scene where he tells the judge that he needs a break because if he holds in his urine, it could lead to like erectile dysfunction in the future?
I have a note here. It says exhibits
I'll be right back.
47 to 54, which you presented on disc.
They're going to admit the evidence.
Hard copies of those photos before Kraus leaves today or else.
Or else.
So, that's from the clerk of the court. And
The clerk's going to kick your ass if you don't get her the exhibits.
Yeah, never anger the clerk.
Never, ever.
That's the last person that you want to anger. Even
I would piss off the judge
above a
first.
judge. Yes.
I would piss off the judge before I'd piss off the clerk.
100%.
What did I tell the jury? You'll be really big.
I like him a
I love
lot.
this judge. I
do
love
too.
him. He seems like I want to like have like a Sunday brunch with him and hear all of his like best war stories.
Oh, you know he tells stories like when they're not in trial in like motion practice. You know that he's chatty and he's chatty with the bench, and chatty with the attorneys.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good thing. There are a few judges I feel like that about, but one of them just did the Durst trial, and it was very fun to watch Judge Wyndham on TV. I was like, oh, you're one of my favorites. I like you. So, good times.
Yeah. So people in the chat are asking why we don't want to piss off a clerk. And it's really because the clerk is really like the central person that you need to get all of your stuff into. And they can make your life a living nightmare if you anger them. Just an absolute administrative nightmare. And that's really where a lot of these details can get caught up. And I mean, what we're witnessing right now when we're watching this trial is we're witnessing the show, right? This is the performance. But behind all of that, there's so much administrative work. There are, binders that you need to present to the court, so that the judge can have copies of exhibits, and so that everybody has copies of everything. And there are so many things. And every courthouse, every state, every county, every courthouse has their own rules that you need to abide by, and some clerks even specifically have certain rules. I mean, they're usually the judge's rules, but the clerk is the one that's enforcing those, and it's their job to make sure that things go smoothly. So yeah, if you anger the clerk in any kind of a case, especially right around trial, your life around trial just got so much harder.
Yes. Never, ever. Look, whatever your issues with the court are, never piss off the administrative staff. Because the and speaking in a little bit different capacity, if you're making the administrative staff mad, and then let's say later you file a document that needs expedited review from a judge, and you file the document and you immediately call court admin, you say, hey, look, I really need you guys to give this expedited review and get it to the judge right away because this is emergency. I need this done before tomorrow. They go, sorry, we're really busy. Don't ever. The admin staff of the court should be treated like a literal saint.
Yes.
And you should never be snarky. You should never be affrontive. You should never be insulting to them. They're doing their job. And from my experience, The admin staff does a phenomenal job, and they try really hard. They don't care about you. They don't care about your case. They literally are just, I'm trying to get.
But if they like you,
yes.
If they like you,
yes,
they will help you.
Helpful.
They can be very helpful. I mean, I worked as a research attorney for judges before I went to the DA's office, and got to see the different ways attorneys would come into court and treat the judicial assistants and the clerks. And it was very interesting to watch, because half the time the clerks and the judges go to lunch together. They work together for years and years and years. In LA County, the judges pick their judicial assistants and work with them for 15, 20 years. So if you piss off the court clerk, they're going to talk shit about you to the judge. Yes. Same with the research attorney. They are going to talk shit on you. They are going to not answer your calls. Oops, you were supposed to send those jury instructions. I sure didn't see them.
Look,
That's a shame.
I am a consummately polite and debonair professional. When
in court,
not on live streams, that's for sure.
No, in court. And if you notice, I rarely ever talk about the active prosecutor in a case, or even a previous prosecutor in a case, or a judge, unless I think they're clearly wrong in the law. Like when a judge. Oh my God, my battery died.
It's exhausted. It's exhausted of you.
Now we've got mini arms.
Listen to
you
this.
don't have your battery wired in?
Yeah.
Look, it's like $150 to do that, and that, not that that's a problem. I just haven't gotten around to it.
I've seen well more than $150 in super chats tonight.
Yes, we're doing okay, but what I'm saying is, I had a judge in a case. This is a civil case. This is a contract issue, and the judge said that based on the receipt of a receipt that was signed by a third party, okay? So my client is alleging to have only a contract with the first party, but that the third party signed a receipt that was delivered to them by the third party, that my client had a action in furtherance of a contract with the third party and not the first party of the case. That because
and these are two different companies?
This is a company that exists, and then a separate person that is suing in their individual capacity, not related to the company. So
is this not making sense because you're drunk, or is this not making sense because someone did something really fucking weird?
It's really fucking weird. So here's the deal. My client hired a person with a registered company with the Secretary of State of Minnesota to do a painting job. The person did not complete the painting job, so my client had only paid them roughly 60% of the total value because they didn't finish the final 40% of the work. And their terms that they agreed to in text message were, when you finish the 40%, I will give you the 40% in cash. They never finished the 40%. So my client never paid them. This other person, completely devoid of the company, sued in their individual capacity my client, and sued and said that they had a contract with my client. My client has never exchanged a word with this person, right?
Like a subcontractor?
No, not a subcontractor.
Not even a subcontractor?
Was this like an employee of the company?
I'm so confused.
No, it's so weird. So the owner of the company, who is again registered with the state, who owns the company according to the state, is the person my client dealt with. This other person, who is the girlfriend of the owner, right? The girlfriend sues my client in their individual capacity. She
wanted that money. She earned that money somehow.
Right. Not as representative of the company. Not in any capacity other than her own. And then she sued my client and said, well, I signed the receipts, and told the judge that. And the judge said, that's an action in furtherance of the contract with the other party. And the judge had, because it was small claims court, the judge denied my admission. The judge said, the other party's not represented. It's not fair if you're represented. So
That's not how that works.
I'm just sitting there watching, pissed, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay. And my client's trying to stumble through this hearing, but the judge says, wait, so you got receipts from this person? And his answer is, I've never met this person in my life. And the judge said, but she signed them, so it's an action in furtherance of the contract. And I'm sitting there screaming, no, it isn't, Judge. But I'm on Zoom and I'm muted, so I'm toast. And so then the person.
This gets better.
The best part is that my client had told the original contractor that they were not allowed on his property because the original contractor took a bunch of garbage from the original work site and dumped it illegally at a private business. And the private business called my client and said, hey, get your shit out of my dumpster. And my client's like, I didn't put it there. This guy did. And so then they worked it out and it was no big deal. And he's like, yeah, actually, I've had bad deals with this guy before because I hired him and he did the same shit to me. So no big deal. That's done. So then my client, I send an email to the lady, right? The lady who sues. And I'm like, okay, just to let you know, your alleged subcontractor, this guy, he can't come to my client's house ever because he did illegal acts and my client is not happy about it. My client informed him about this back in May, and then she never responds to me. I call her on the phone and tell her, I sent you an email. It details why your boyfriend is not allowed at my client's house. If you want to tell me what other subcontractors are available, no problem. You do it. Because we said, fine, if she says she's the contractor and she's going to finish the work, okay, let's see you finish the work, lady. But this guy's the painter. She's not a painter. She's just a weirdo. So then she has to try and go. We get the second hearing where she has to explain to the judge why she didn't finish the work. And she's like, well, they didn't let my guy at the property. And the judge says, wait a minute. You're the contractor.
You're the guy.
And she's like, why didn't you finish the work? And we didn't even ask her to finish the work. All we asked was, please tell us a date when you can finish the work. We are willing to work with you. And then further, please tell us the name of any subcontractor you plan to employ to finish the work. We even gave her an out. She couldn't do it. And that's when the judge realized that her initial ruling was bullshit because she, I don't know what, she was mad at my client because he was a little late for the hearing. And legal advice to everybody out there, never in your goddamn life be late for a hearing. Be 30 minutes early. Always.
The lines are long. Parking always sucks.
Parking sucks. Traffic sucks. Something's going to come up. Be there early.
Yes. Never be late for a hearing. But my client was a little bit late. He had internet trouble. It's not, he was traveling. He had internet trouble. He got on as soon as possible. But the judge was already pissed. And so the judge was not willing to listen to my client. So the judge made bad decisions. I have called out that judge on her bad decisions, and I think she realizes those bad decisions, and she corrected them very clearly in the subsequent hearing. She basically was an opportunity to give the prosecution a little extra chance. Prosecution fumbled at the goal line like idiots in that case. But generally speaking, the whole point of this was I rarely ever, even though I have this large audience and live stream potential, I do not talk about active cases, and I certainly would never besmirch the administrative staff who works really hard. A judge or a prosecutor can make bad decisions that I can disagree with. The administrative staff is just doing their job, and if they don't go through with something, it's probably, and this is my experience, because I filed it wrong, and then I need to correct it, and that involves me having a phone call with them. They've always been courteous. I don't know why you would ever go after a court clerk or a court admin.
Nick,
in
you're
real
forgetting
life.
the basic rule. Most lawyers are dicks. And
That's
so
true.
that's the problem. A lot of lawyers are dicks. And
Yes.
especially when you look at private practice, because criminal practice is a little different, but when you look at private civil practice, especially by the time they get to the partner level and are showing up in court, they're used to everyone in their office scurrying around and being afraid of them, and then they come in and pop off to the clerk, and the clerk's like, "Oh no, you did not just do that.
Oh,
That's not what's
no,
happening."
you did not.
That's like going to the McDonald's because you're mad that the chicken nuggets aren't made out of beef. Like it's not that the guy at the McDonald's made your chicken nuggets and you had a problem with them. It's that they weren't made. You're going to McDonald's, the front end, with a problem with corporate. Like that guy didn't do anything. He did. He put the chicken nuggets in the fry oil for 6 minutes and pulled them out and put them in a container for you. He did everything he was asked to do. Why are you yelling at this guy?
Yeah.
If you want them to be made out of beef, you go to corporate. That's not that guy's problem.
Yep. John Pittman asked in the chat, even the female lawyers. Yes, I use dicks as a gender neutral term because asshole takes too long to say. So there are definitely female lawyers.
If
that are
you've
also
never,
dicks.
Yes, completely.
and Emily, no offense intended, because I have not ever worked with you in this capacity. But if you haven't met a female lawyer who's a dick, you've never worked with a county prosecutor who's a female.
Oh, I can totally be a dick. I can totally be a dick. Normally, though, I have tried to be kind multiple times.
Yes.
And that hasn't worked. Or you've fucked over one of my friends in trial. So by the time I walk in to have a case with you, I know about you, and it's not going to go well. And that's the thing with prosecutors' offices. You literally, if you mess with one, you mess with all. And so I don't start out being a dick, but I can definitely get there. I have been petty. And the thing is, lawyers and judges are humans, and so when you get flustered, when you get pissed off, there's a reason for it, but you're also human and you're doing your job, and there are people that get under your skin. There's a lawyer who I could not even have a conversation with because it would just devolve into yelling, and it was just a mess all the time.
As a criminal defense attorney who has and you can look up publicly, a prosecutor in Minnesota who watches the streams, by the way, mentioned that I've done X amount of cases in Minnesota. That's great. I've done more than that. We just resolved them outside of trial, and that's fine. We resolved them outside of filing, and that's not a slight to the guy. He's a nice guy. I like him. I'm going to drive up to his county and have some drinks when I get an opportunity. But that being said, as a defense attorney in Minnesota, I have never once been mean, snarky, or abrasive to the prosecution office, no matter who I'm working with in the state, because I know automatically, I'm like, look, normally at the onset, the first thing I'm asking this prosecutor is, what deal does the state have for my client? And I want those deals to always be beneficial. And for the most part, they are beneficial because that person doesn't hate you. They don't hate your client. Look, Emily,
they don't want to go to trial. They want to resolve the case.
Right.
They don't want your guy to get screwed over unless your guy has a rap sheet 1,000,000 years long and needs to go to prison. And even then, it's like, look, they're facing this. I will give you this. And if it's early on in the case and you're pleasant to work with, most prosecutors will be pleasant. That's not to say that there aren't some with huge egos that just aren't that way, but most prosecutors will be pleasant. If you show up being a pompous asshole, you will get treated in kind, or you will have the prosecutor, not that I've ever done this, but I totally have. You have the prosecutor go to the bailiff and be like, hey, so-and-so's coming in today. Can you just put them at the bottom of the case list? Can you just put them to the bottom of the docket? Because I hate them, and they come into court and they rub my shoulders when I'm sitting at counsel table, and they're like, hi, Madam Prosecutor. And you're like, get the fuck off of me. It's so inappropriate.
So inappropriate. Oh my
God.
God.
Oh, the tales of a young prosecutor.
But
holy crap.
The truth.
Thank
the
God I
truth
never
about
had to
this.
deal with that.
Emily, can you attest to this? The truth is that 99% of cases are not Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Like,
I mean, at least 99.5.
Yeah, this is a for a prosecutor and a defense attorney. This is a once in a lifetime case, once in a career case most of the time, you're dealing with a petty felony. It's not a petty misdemeanor or whatever. It's a felony possession charge. You're dealing with some yahoo who got too drunk at a bar and threw hands before falling on his face and got called in. You know, you're dealing with these petty crimes. 99% of your, or as you said, 99.5% of your day, you're dealing with people who are guilty. You're dealing with people who are guilty of some random extraneous thing. The overwhelming majority of cases that hit the prosecution's office are not murder. And that's the same as defense attorneys. Most of the time you're defending a DUI. Like, let's be real. What is the court load on DUI? Is it 50%
Very high
of cases, or is it higher?
So it's interesting because LA County is so big. We would be broken up into misdemeanor court, preliminary hearing courts, felony trial courts, and then you would kind of divide out into the special units that have all changed around since I left a few years ago. But your caseload would kind of ebb and flow. And in misdemeanor court, depending on where you're located, I was doing minor possession cases, DUIs, and then all the ancillary DUI crimes like the driving on a suspended license, driving without insurance. And then because of where I was located, lobster cases. I'm like, can we stop with these lobster cases? I'm so tired of trying to explain to people why they need a license for lobster. Like, this is not why I went to law school.
You're talking about
I don't fucking
like
care.
Fishing for lobster?
A literal lobster case?
Oh, we had a whole lobster sting operation in Long Beach. They had bait lobsters that were tagged because there were these fishing boats that were selling lobster to a restaurant, but they were illegally fishing for lobster in the marked areas where you're not allowed to fish because it's a breeding ground. And there were bait lobsters in there. They had to keep the bait lobsters in a tank in evidence. It was
God.
It was so ridiculous, but also, like, I get it. So we had commercial lobster fishing ones, and then we had just the, like, a dude goes down to the beach and gets some lobster to take home and eat and didn't have a thing. Or people would go fishing and not leave the tag of skin on the fish when Fish and Game came around and be like, well, they were already cooking it, but you're supposed to leave a tag. Like, this is why I'm a DA for this. Seriously.
Yeah.
Emily, I just want to say, you know, as a Canadian psychologist, psychiatrist,
I was wondering if Jordan Peterson was going to come in.
I just want to ask, have you considered the fact that fishing for lobster is analogous to fishing for people in the modern day? Because at the end of the day, we are all lobsters when you get down to it. When you evolutionarily, we're basically derived from lobsters.
Lobsters are.
You need to straighten your back, and what was it that he said? Straighten your back and do the thing.
Straighten your back and keep your eyes up and wash your balls and clean your room.
Look, I support washing your balls. Lobsters are just.
I will concur in that.
I support that. I have a house full of boys. I get it. Lobsters are just giant bugs. So, you know, fight me. It's just bug meat. They're like alien bugs.
What is this picture now?
That was the worst thing I realized the other day. I was like,
that lobsters are bugs?
I won't eat cicadas. I won't eat the bugs because I am a bigot and I won't do it. But yet, I'm sitting here eating shrimp and lobster. These are just sea bugs. It's the same meat, and it's horrifying to me.
Bug meat.
It is.
But I don't care. If you cook a roach and tell me it's a shrimp, I'll kill you. And I'll kill your family.
Yeah. But, you know...
Somebody just flag the stream for when Nick gets arrested. Someone fed him a roach and he snapped. He said he was going to do it. No, it was LA is a big county, so there's lots of these wonky little communities. And by the beach, the Fish and Game cases were real. They actually went to our bosses because they thought we weren't taking the Fish and Game cases seriously enough. That was a fun conversation with the higher ups.
Oh, God. That's just
they were
like
super pissed about it. We had Fish and Game arrest for a DUI, but Fish and Game in Long Beach. But Fish and Game doesn't have the capacity to arrest. They don't have any lockups. They don't have breathalyzers. They don't have anything. But they were at 7-Eleven and they saw this drunk dude picking up food and stumble into their car. And they decided that in their green pickup truck, with one light on top. They were going to chase this dude through Long Beach to arrest him for DUI, and then they had to call CHP for help. And CHP was like, "What are you doing? Why are you engaging in a chase with someone?" And the guy is like, "I didn't think they were police." And it's like, well, right. It's agreed.
Because why would you? Why would you think that? Oh my God.
I'm loving this. I'm just picturing the meeting between you and the DA, who's like, Emily, have you considered that this is an illegal lobster? Have you even considered that they grabbed this lobster from a cage illegally?
Yep.
And you're like,
I took it as seriously as when they brought in people who they had arrested for habitually taking cans out of the recycling in the communities when they put cans out for recycling, and they would track people for weeks and then arrest them for taking recycling out of the recycling bags. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. We have so much more.
California's tax dollars at work.
Yeah, get out of here. Get out of here with that.
Only
we have so
weeks,
much more
though.
to do.
Yeah.
Only weeks, though.
Uh-huh. So there's times people are like, "Were you a tough prosecutor?" I'm like, "Yeah." I had a woman that stole an ass, and
Wait, she stole an ass?
like
How do you
like,
steal an ass?
Not
Are you
that
talking
like a
about,
Kim
are you talking about like
Kardashian?
silicone implants or like a
Implants.
donkey? Oh,
Implants.
wow. Okay, so it is that California.
She stole silicone implants. Is this Kamika Kardashian? Like, what the fuck is happening?
She's the youngest sibling. She got gifted.
She got gypped.
Gypped. Thank you.
On the ass, but
It's been a day.
she impersonated someone else to get a care credit account, and with the care medical credit account went and got plastic surgery to have ass implants.
Oh my.
And then when they went back to arrest her, she was going back to the doctor because the ass had become infected.
Oh my God.
But when they charged her, she also had prescriptions. When you say that sometimes I was petty, and I do, she had prescriptions, but they were in the false identity. So I charged her with also having prescriptions in somebody else's name. You're not allowed to have OxyContin in somebody else's name.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look,
Yeah.
she stole plastic surgery with this care credit account. It's all of the types of identity theft and the narcotics. And my boss was like, really? I'm like, it's not in her name. They're like, but it was legitimately prescribed. And I'm like, not to her. So she came in to be arraigned on a stretcher because she couldn't sit down because her ass was infected. So she was face down in court, face down, ass up in court with her infected butt. And then the best part of it is, because they decided to arrest her, the county had to pay to take out her ass because they had her in county custody.
Look,
I came in on ass infected and ass up, face down. What did I walk into?
This is a stolen ass, by the way.
It's a stolen ass.
It's a stolen infected ass. These stories
God
are amazing.
willing, God
These stories
willing,
are
I
amazing.
die face down, ass up. Like, God willing that happens to me. I don't care if I ate some bad ice cream and get salmonella and immediately pack and die on the street. Please, let me die face down, ass up.
Look, there were definitely days being a prosecutor when you're like, someday we need to write a book because no one will believe the shit that happens and the stuff that people do. Like, no one will believe what goes on in the prosecutor's offices and the things you see and the things you don't file, the things you look at and you're like, nope, we're not doing that today. So,
I
from
mean,
a more serious.
You guys gotta listen to more hip hop because that's a song. That's like the first line of a song. Face down, ass up.
Yes.
That's the way I like to.
beep.
Yes, we know. Wait, Nate, you're on stream with me and Rakeda and you're not cursing? You got to keep that reputation.
True. No,
I mean,
I'm so used to it now because like every stream now I do, it's like demonetized. I'm like, hello, boom, yellow. I'm like, all right. So I'm like so careful now. Like, all right.
I'm not.
YouTube. Let's be honest on this. And I'm replacing the battery in my camera. I'll be a second. YouTube literally hates the AAVE, right? African American Vernacular English. They hate it. They discriminate against it. And I have streams. My buddy Drexel, I've been friends with him for, we've been friends for probably 25 to close to 30 years. And when I have streams with him, they get demonetized miraculously, even though there's nothing in there that's particularly offensive. YouTube is not on par with AAVE, which, by the way, becomes basic internet lingo within a year. The FR being for real, that comes from AAVE. That comes from this thing, because the internet is actually quick to integrate culture, but internet businesses are not, and it's annoying. So Nate, I hear you. You're saying you need to listen to more hip hop. If you listen to more hip hop, you're going to be demonetized on YouTube instantly.
Well, if you slip up on your stream. But this is, Viper and I were talking about this. He is a tech YouTuber, and his intro is very loud and very like, what's up? It's your boy. And he was getting demonetized for having hostile and aggressive videos. He's like, I'm just a black man, and that's how I talk. So we were talking about that quite a lot, that this was happening, and it's not uncommon. So it's interesting that you bring that up, Nick, because it's facts, because I curse a lot and I don't get demonetized unless I'm talking about a particular subject like a Josh Duggar, where it's known that the content is going to be a little bit on the difficult side to talk about factually. But no, it's almost interesting.
Yeah, almost every one of my live streams like immediately gets limited with ad monetization, like as soon as I go live. And but then after 24 hours after everyone's already watched it, of course, then they're like, oh, just kidding. Yeah, it's fine. You can monetize it now.
There was one
except for when we covered the USA gymnastics team, how they went to Congress. That was the one time, because of, I mean, that is sensitive content. So
but again, it's educational content, and it's like,
yes, and
it's educational content.
We didn't go into any graphics, any details whatsoever, and we were very careful, very circumspect about how we talked about it too.
Yep.
Anyway,
how you guys doing? Nate, how are you doing? I think they've been drinking whiskey all day to watch this fight.
I started only a few hours ago.
I got kids. I was sitting there listening to Ahmaud Arbery. It's funny.
What happened in their trial today?
It was opening statements.
How did that go?
It was bad for the defense. The prosecutor just like destroyed. Number one, I didn't know. Supposedly the guy who owns the house told the guys who gunned him down, like, hey, you know what? We're looking for white guys who stole something from the house, but we have this black guy that comes all the time, and he's never stole anything.
Oh shit!
That is so damning.
And
Nick's also being outed for using cheap batteries.
Dude, it's the battery that came with my camera. Like, I tried to avoid this thing. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna switch it over to the camera until I'm sure that battery fucking exhausted thing is off. Turns out, no, it was off.
Hey, no, I'm sorry, but Nate, that's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. Just watch the prosecution's opening, and she kills like everything. The defense attorney even admitted, oh yeah, my client, number one, he admitted two things that are just fucking insane. I'm glad I can say it. Fucking insane. The first thing he admitted is that the two guys that chased down Ahmaud Arbery, they were talking about what's it called? Citizen's arrest. So they said the reason why they chased Arbery is because they saw somebody outside pointing down the street, and they saw a black man running, and they chased him, and that gave them probable cause for a citizen's arrest.
But they didn't stop there.
No, and then when the cops asked them, why were you trying to get a citizen's arrest? Or, what were you going to arrest him for? They said, we don't know.
Oh my God. I thought they were going to get convicted before I heard opening statements, just based on the facts. I was already like, these guys are totally fucked. They should have pled to whatever they could have pled to. But now I'm just like, you never feel 100 after opening, but that's 100.
Yeah.
Why did they go to trial?
And
that killed their whole defense. The defense was saying this stuff.
I was talking with Joe Neerman last night about this, because he's been covering the Arbery trial as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, the whole time going, this is a really, really, like, Kyle Rittenhouse is a different case. Kyle Rittenhouse is a clear case of self-defense. And then
Motion to dismiss. I got $50 on the motion to dismiss.
Dude,
if anybody
you know
wants
what?
to take me up on that.
You said that and I'm like, I don't know. After today, I'm like, motion to dismiss after the case in chief of the prosecution.
Yes.
I think it's possible to get 3 or 4 of the charges dismissed.
Yeah, I think the top charges are gone. I think all the top charges. I think the only 2 left is the gun charge and the other charge. I think that's
Maybe you keep the reckless endangerment charge, maybe, but you
but
still have to
even
consider
that one.
Even that one, I
don't know, because McGinnis testified that he was behind Rosenbaum when it happened, right? And so we're talking about the bullets that were near McGinnis, right? And those are bullets that went through Rosenbaum. So if it was right,
the reason I say that the reckless endangerment charge might be preserved on a motion to dismiss, where hypothetically every major charge is dismissed, is because of the specific jury instruction that says you're not entitled to the privilege of self-defense on a reckless endangerment charge. However, if a perfected self-defense claim is made, the jury is entitled to consider that in their actions. Go
Nick,
ahead.
One thing, though, even about that last point, that's a legal impossibility, though. Perfect self-defense and then the reckless endangerment is a legal impossibility, and the reason why is, if I have perfect self-defense, right, that means I am justified in using force. So if that bullet goes and kills someone else, right, because I've released it in perfect self-defense, then in mid-flight that bullet turns from being totally justified to then
into reckless,
non-justified, and now killing someone else? No, you can't. It doesn't make sense.
I think the only reality that exists actually is when you have like a flamethrower or some other area of effect object, right? Like I made a joke the other day.
Like we're in a Quentin Tarantino movie here.
Right. Like literally, I made a joke the other day. You have a howitzer and the person is a threat to you, but there's several people around you, and you have an explosive round, and you throw that into the crowd, which then causes injury to other people. That is reckless endangerment, maybe, right? It's maybe.
Yeah,
if you have any other alternative, that becomes reckless endangerment because you may be scared for your life, but I mean, you know that this thing is going to impact the people around it. That's not what we have in Kyle's trial, right? You have him pumping 4 rounds into a guy who's charging at him. And
lunging. No, let's get it right. Lunging at the weapon.
Well, Nate, let me stop you there. Is it lunging or is it falling? I'm not sure from Binger's testimony. But, you have him lunging at the weapon or falling, if you want to frame it that way. So you have him pumping 4 rounds to this guy. You literally do not know if one of those rounds is going to penetrate and hit someone behind you. You don't know if it's going to hit a rib or a pelvis and deflect and fragment and cause danger to someone around you. All you're concerned about at that moment is, I need to hit the target that is trying to murder me right now. So I agree with you on the implications. I'm saying as a matter of law, you don't necessarily have, because the jury instruction on it is so weird, because it says you're not entitled to the privilege of self-defense, but the jury may consider a perfected claim of self-defense in their determination. So I think maybe the judge says, I don't have the authority to dismiss this charge. But I think largely the last 2 charges are the main 2 charges. And even if you dismiss all the others on legal self-defense and the judge goes, okay, jury, he's legally guaranteed the privilege of self-defense and all these other claims. Do you think he shot this person? And you go, all four of those bullets entered pedophile Joseph Rosenbaum, and one of them might have maybe gone through and maybe hit the ground and maybe scared McGinnis. I think they win on that.
I gotta say this too. Who the hell are these people he shot? He just shot some really. One guy who he got the knife to his brother's neck and told him he's gonna kill the whole house. I'm like, that came out today. I'm like, what the hell? And then the other guy who's out of a mental institution telling everybody, if I get you alone, I'm gonna kill you. I'm like, listen, this is going to be bad. I know there's people going to clip this, but
Clip it.
Rittenhouse. If he could have shot some people, he shot some very interesting people. I don't know
but I think that tells you who was out that night.
Yes.
And what was
Yeah.
it gives you because what are the chances? There's so many people out, and I think it just goes to his fear being reasonable. I mean, I don't think the case should have been filed, and that's
100%.
Someone,
I think it was ultimately a political decision.
which I
And-
hate. I don't like. And I said this
I don't
about
like it
and
either.
people hate it when I said it about the Cosby case too. But when you get a politically motivated prosecution, you're not going to get a good result because you're not following the law. And if you're not following the law, your results are going to be fucked.
The Cosby decision is attenuated by what? 30 years of time? Like, even if it's the proper result, which I'm not saying it is or isn't.
They shouldn't have brought the prosecution after they said that if he testified, if he did the civil route, they told the victims go the civil route. They told everyone go the civil route, and they should have stuck with that. And then they changed heads of the office, and then the head of the office is like, nope, we don't want to do that anymore. Nope.
Someone in my chat last night said they brought up some incarceration statistics, and they basically broke down the incarceration statistics overall for the country for white males, right? And it comes down to something like a sixth of the country incarcerated at some point in time are white males at some point in their own lives. And they said, and Kyle shot 3 of them. And it's like, and they go, and it's like, yes, of all the people involved, of anybody, you pick any random protester on the street, Kyle Rittenhouse didn't shoot that person. That person probably does not have a criminal history. But 2 of them have severe felony convictions, and the third one has felony accusations. Come on now. Like, you're talking about again, as someone, I think it was you, Emily, who said, interesting. It's interesting, the demographics of who ended up getting shot, that they happen to have these criminal convictions. And
Well,
it
and
tells
I think
you a
it
lot
speaks to
about the
those are
makeup
the-
of the crowd.
And that those are the people that chose to try to kill Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yes.
Because they were like, oh, I'm willing to go there. Me,
Right.
I'm not there that night. You know, there are lots of law-abiding citizens who are like, I might want to protest, but I'm not staying around for this part. I know what happens at this part. Nothing good happens at this part. So I'm out.
It's important to note, a lot of BLM protesters and a lot of Antifa protesters that night didn't try to kill Kyle Rittenhouse.
Right.
In fact, the overwhelming majority of BLM and Antifa protesters, however many were there that night, did not attempt murder. But the only people who died are people who put hands on or attempted to put hands on the barrel of a gun, or
No
a
DNA
guy.
was on it, Nick. No DNA was on it.
Did you see that expert, Nate?
Yes,
Oh my
I
God.
saw it. It was so hilarious. It was like-
Did you see her get flown into the stratosphere and just explode like fireworks? And then Katy Perry came out and just sang for everyone.
Yes.
I don't want to say it. I don't
It
want
was
to
a
say
glorious.
I missed
I
Katy
know it's
Perry.
How did the prosecution miss this? They're like, we don't have anywhere near conclusive proof that he didn't grab the gun. Like, look, and the crazy thing is, if you go with the first statistic they said, we have 70,000 on Rosenbaum, we have 660,000 on Huber. If every statistic you have is 660,000 on Huber, you're talking about a third of Wisconsin or a fifth of Wisconsin. That is a great statistic. That means that on that night, Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber did not grab the gun. You're talking 1 in 660,000 chance. They did not grab the gun. When you start getting down to 1 in 2,300, and then you start getting down into we literally cannot determine if they grabbed or didn't grab it, don't call the fucking witness. Make the defense call the state employee to say to do that as a hostile witness. Make the state try and prove that case. What on earth are you doing?
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know why. Again, like Emily says, I don't know why they brought this case. With especially just reading the complaint. When you got a complaint where your main witnesses say, yeah, you didn't shoot him until the guy lunged for the gun and chased him down and, he was cornered. It's like,
he didn't shoot him until
over,
his
right?
life was imminently in danger. And then he did because it's self-defense.
When I read it, I was like, is this a motion to dismiss or is this a complaint? Because this looks like a motion to dismiss here.
Yeah,
this is a complaint?
I was down in Florida. I was handicapped. I was crippled. I was at my parents' house. My kids are visiting their grandparents. We're having a good time. The complaint comes out and I read it and I say, you have got to be kidding me. I thought, here I am, defense attorney going, malicious prosecutor is going to lie entirely. They're scumbag. They're going to misrepresent the entire case. I read the complaint and I go, wait, did Kyle's lawyer write this complaint? Like, this is gold. And every witness so far, outside of maybe the second witness. The second witness, who is Corey Washington. No, Corey Washington. Yeah, the guy. He's
social
kind
media
of
influencer.
Yeah, he's an activist, social media influencer, and he wasn't great for the prosecution, but he wasn't great for the defense. Then you're right, Nate. The cop comes in, and for some reason, and I think maybe we found this today. But the defense does not object to the fact that this guy's only foundation for testifying to the authenticity and reality of what's going on in this evidence is that, look, I looked at it on YouTube, bro, and downloaded it. You're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Authentication right there, right? This is a true and accurate representation of what happened.
But the defense goes, our facts are so good, we don't even care.
Yeah, just let all the videos in.
Yeah.
The videos all prove our point anyway. Just let all the videos in. Fuck it.
I gotta ask you guys though. The defense, do they know they can object? Because when the judge starts objecting for you, I think you got a problem. Like you can ask that question.
I think opposite though.
Like
I think it's actually helping them, because I think that it's for the jury. You do expect for the two attorneys on both sides to be objecting to one another. You don't expect to see the judge to step in, because the judge is super neutral. And this judge in particular is very warm, very affable, very kind. So when he steps in and puts the prosecution back in their lane, that looks much more powerful than when he's having to respond to the defense saying, hey, can you get us to put him back in his lane? They're not saying anything, and he's just like, you gotta move over.
You're saying it's a power play, that the defense is like, none of this bullshit that's happening matters. None of this matters to us, because I was screaming the other day. I'm like, there's no foundation, there's no authenticity, there's no this, there's no that, and it might just be that they're like, no, this is our plan. We're gonna just
and
let it be straight on cross-examination. His directs are just cross. He didn't have a gun. No, he didn't have this. I'm like, what the hell is going on? There's no rules of evidence here. It's just whatever you want.
Because the other thing too is that if you object, then it also makes it look like you think that whatever it is that you're objecting to is important, and you don't want it. So it also
that it's bad for you. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you instead do address it on cross, and you do it very, very well, very snappy, like the defense has been doing, then you just destroy it, and that's the end of it.
Like the other defense attorney, not the main dude who was on the other day. His
Emily Baker. Look, I know you were
agree.
a prosecutor down in Los Angeles or whatever, some small town. But I'm not gonna have you coming out here on a live stream on YouTube and besmirching my name. I've been doing a very good job. My opening statement was definitely baller. I think that's what you call it down there in the urban county of Los Angeles. Up here in Kenosha, maybe we don't use the word baller so much, but I looked it up and made sure it was appropriate for this.
Made sure that you used the hard R.
The hard R. Hard R. If I was a lawyer, if I was Kyle's lawyer, I'd be so, because I have free license. They called him yes, you should have saw it. You know what? One thing I will.
Did you hear when they called Kyle a nit? It's like, oh my God.
I can say it.
Not my words. Not my words. That's his words, right?
I can't wait to see the Arbery trial, because that word comes in a lot. So I want to. The prosecutor, you can tell she's getting. One thing about the objections, though, I did want to say though, There was one point when he was arguing with his own witness. He was literally impeaching his own witness. Did
Oh
you
my
really
God.
see that? I think an objection there is just so everybody, so it just stops the flow and lets the jury know. And your
Yes.
objection. He's arguing with his own witness, you know?
Yes, and
Boom.
Because there's a procedure to be able to treat your witness as hostile.
Yeah.
You go for it at screening, but there's cases that govern that, and you have to go through that procedure to treat a witness as hostile. It can't just be, stop it, I don't like what you're saying.
Right, but what the judge is going to say is, the judge is going to say overruled, but I need you to rephrase your question or qualify your witness as a hostile witness. If you want to impeach your own witness, go ahead and do it. That is a thing that we've talked about on this show is if you're going to call a witness, if you're going to treat a witness hostilely, call them out on it. Let the jury know. Prosecution brought this person and they're obliterating their own case, and the prosecution is so embarrassed right now that they're trying to discredit their own witness. But
Bringing hostile witnesses is the worst. It's not a good day in court. It's not fun for anyone. There's times they're going to be hostile, especially if you've had to put them in custody because they're dodging subpoenas, and you have to put them in custody and then bring them into court. For me, it normally starts with, "Good afternoon, can you tell us your name?" "Hey, fuck you." It's like, no, just your name, please.
Yeah.
This is going
Is that your name?
So-
First name, last name?
I'm sorry, is your first
This is gonna be
name
great, Your
fuck,
Honor.
or was that fuck, comma, you? Is your name actually you fuck? I want to
Hostile
clarify
witnesses
that.
are so fantastic. Somebody in the chat is bringing up the inventory manager. Why the fuck was that guy called, and why didn't he know what happened with the cars? He knew nothing.
I was hired by my dad. I'm on the payroll, but I don't actually do any work, and I don't know anything, and
listen.
I don't want to admit to anything. And
I will say this. Isn't it so ironic in the world we live in, the cancel culture we live in, the one person who is using the hard R word, who's going around saying it, the one white guy,
Yes.
is the one that they're not calling the racist.
Right.
It's the other guy who's not used that word. It's the guy who is running around calling everybody the R word.
Yeah.
Like, what world are we living in? And they're calling Kyle the racist, right? I'm like,
And
what's going on there?
Did Kyle shoot anyone that wasn't white?
No.
Have I not been
They were
paying
all
attention?
white.
Did I miss
All white.
something?
no, they're all white.
Before I
This
drunkenly
white
forget
supremacy kills
this.
a lot of white people, unfortunately.
Before I drunkenly forget this, we're talking about defense strategy and maybe they're making good decisions and not objecting to stuff. I have to give credit. To a couple lawyers who are very, very smart, and I welcome their input on this case and other cases. Andrew Branca from lawofselfdefense.com and also Robert Grueller, both very sharp guys. Robert Grueller is a criminal defense attorney. Andrew Branca is a use of force expert that consults. He's also an attorney, but mostly he's a use of force expert that consults on cases across the country. Both of those guys said on day 2, defense is doing fine, not objecting, whereas I'm screaming object. I want to put it out there. Those guys may have been 100% right on how the defense is conducting this case. I don't know if I'm there yet. I'm not sure I'm agreeing with them. I still think day 2 was a bad day for the defense. That could have been a good day. But day 3, day 4, the defense has blown the prosecution off the fucking map. And
So it is fun to play spot the objections.
Yes.
I mean, it is nice.
It
You're like,
is,
wait,
it
no,
is.
this. You get to relive law school a little bit. Look, I'm not a sports ball person, but I imagine that's what sports ball people do when they're watching the things. And they're like, hey, you could have done this, you could have done that.
Pass
Right.
interference. What are you doing?
Hold on.
It's the same for lawyers.
Well,
Yes.
Nick, you were saying, because some of those objections, though, that were missed were pretty, like almost ineffective. Like the one where
Right.
the guy's like, Kyle pointed the gun at me earlier, and they were like, and that was all
Yes.
through hearsay. And it was like,
That is
why are
the
you letting that
most-
in?
It's the
Yeah.
most
Say-
damaging hearsay testimony you could possibly imagine from a guy who's not going to appear in court.
Like 4 times
Yeah.
it was said. It was like,
Yep.
you're
Yeah.
letting the guy say that your client's pointing guns at everybody, and that's like, this doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah.
The thing
that's
is, that was
strategy.
so early on. The jury might forget about that by the time we are done with
There's a
this.
decent-
Because
decent chance of that.
the defense goes last. The prosecution's not going to be able to bring it up in closing because it can be objected to then, and then it really makes them look like they're doing something shitty. So it could be strategy. It could just be our trying to figure out what they're thinking and not being just.
I have to ask my two prosecutors. After today's testimony, do you bring charges against the fucking car dealerships for insurance fraud? Like, do you go, wait a minute, your inventory manager literally is testifying under oath that your inventory manager doesn't know how many cars or what the value of those cars is that's destroyed. You've testified in a different, or you've made a statement in a different capacity that the insurance claim is not paying out the way you want to. Like, you're talking about severely damaging statements for these guys who seem to have no information about how their business is run, how much their business is lost, how much their business needs to recover from insurance. But yet they're here testifying under oath about how much damage their business was under, and purportedly it's zero. They didn't even care. They didn't have, and you typically have no duty to mitigate damages, but mitigating damages is helpful in general to a negligence claim. So these guys are offered the opportunity of several armed men who say, we will protect your property for free, and they're not even going to entertain the question. You're not going to even respond to the text that you're testifying that you saw. What are you doing? Like,
I think the insurance company might get a transcript. If I'm the insurance company, I'm pulling a transcript.
I think so.
The armed people, though, is a double-edged sword, because God forbid they do kill somebody. Now you're talking about, now your insurance on the other side got a problem, right? Are you liable for that? You just hired the armed guard.
Are they on your property? But if you didn't pay them, you didn't hire them. You're like, look, man, if you're here, you're here. If you're not, you're not. I get it.
Yep.
I say you pull a transcript if you're the insurance company, and maybe if you're the IRS, going, what do you mean you don't know how much losses? How much losses did you claim on your taxes? I would sure be curious.
Yeah.
But Nate, you're 100% right. It's a double-edged sword, and the best part about a double-edged sword on a prosecution witness is it's good for the defendant either way. You say, okay, you either have no idea how much damage was done to your property, so you're some weird witness that we don't know why you're here because you can't testify to any facts relevant to the case. Because the people in the jury are people of Kenosha. They want to know how much damage was done. We're talking $2.5 million. That's an average. I did the calculations, about $18,000 per car. So if you're talking a used car lot, you're talking 18 to 20 grand per car, sure. Or 15 to 20 grand per car, averages out to 18 grand. That's reasonable. You had $18,000 per car in losses. The people of Kenosha who are on the jury want to see that. If you can't state that, if you can't articulate that, then the big question is, why is the prosecution bringing you to this case? And that, I think, is the jury's question all day. Why am I here with a DNA expert who's going to ultimately testify that they can't tell if someone grabbed the gun or not? Why am I here with these cops who over and over are testifying that they have no idea what actually happened because they weren't there? Why am I here with these two used car lot guys who, by the way, they scammed my brother on a car back in 1996 or whatever? Why am I here with these two used car lot guys who can't tell me how much damage they suffered and who are trying, and the defense got this in masterfully, they're trying to deny their liability for the fact that someone may have been shot and killed on their property, and otherwise they'd be liable.
And they asked them to be there. But the thing is about the damage, though, that didn't move me as... I'm going to play defense attorney, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
We got videos of cars being destroyed.
Yep.
We got testimony of them saying we destroyed cars. So we know there was damage. To the amount, then okay, but it's not like there was no damage and they're saying give us $2 million. We know there was damage. It's on tape. I think there were like 3 cars on fire right at one point. So maybe I think this guy probably just didn't want to get involved because he knows. Let's really understand what's going on here too.
But the DA would have known that.
Yeah.
They would have known that about this witness when they interviewed him. They would have known that was the vibe. They would have known and then chosen better to not bring this witness. I wonder if the prosecution's afraid I mean, I'm sure they're afraid of the defense case, but the defense saying, well, if it was so bad, why didn't they call this person? Why didn't they call this person? Because it's very effective when the defense is like, well, the prosecution didn't call this witness, this witness, this witness, because they're hiding from you. And I think the prosecution might hurt themselves trying to get around that argument, because it's a powerful argument when the jury thinks the government's hiding things.
And the other thing is that the prosecution's devastating question to the actual owner of the dealership, right? We get the inventory manager, we get a guy who had some interest in 2015 testifying about this. But if you get the actual owner, their dad of the dealers or their mom on the stand, and you ask the question, why didn't you call the police? Oh, I did call the police. Oh, you did call the police, and what happened next? Nothing. Like, that is brutalizing testimony for the people. The people in Kenosha who are on the jury, who probably know a small business owner or a small business that they go to in Kenosha that was either damaged or shut down temporarily due to this thing. They say, "Hey, my friend, my friend from church, whatever. We had to do a fundraiser for my friend from church to keep their store open because of the damage done." Like, all of this, every fact in this case is bad for the prosecution, and that's why, as you, Nate, and you, Emily, have both said, why are we here in court when we've got this pretty clear case of self-defense?
We're here because the narrative is Kyle's an evil white kid that was looking to kill black people on that night.
Yes,
and this was
he's bad at it.
This was a BLM rally, right? And that was the narrative that was put out, and that's the narrative that's out there. And unfortunately, even the coverage on the news didn't cover. I would suspect the news would cover the guy saying no, it's total stuff. Like, he lunged for the gun. Like, if this was reversed, and I think the races of the parties were reversed, we would hear a lot. I think we'd have a lot different coverage of this. But
yes,
this they know that this is a bad case because it's them that's been telling us this is about race. It's them that's been telling us Kyle's such a bad person. But when the facts come out, none of that's going to be true. And if Kyle gets off, I really want to see what the news coverage is then. Hopefully, when I'm always scared of the court system. but I'll say this: when he gets off, the news coverage is going to tell you what it really is. Because are they going to be celebrating like, okay, this is now the truth is out, or are they going to be like, this racist got off, which is sad, but that's
what's interesting is when juries have gotten it right with a lot of these things when they've gone to trial. Juries have seen through the facts in a lot of these cases. It takes courage as a prosecutor to go against what's politically expedient. But your office has to have some balls and be like, that's not what the law says. I know that you don't like it, and that's what the law says.
Yeah, and to answer your question, Nate, I think the answer is already apparent. The main coverage of this case is that Kyle yawned during some proceedings.
It was fucking boring.
That is the overwhelming coverage of this case, is that Kyle, on trial for the murder of 2 men and the injury of another, yawned during his proceedings. We don't have anything at all about how, and again, 2 days ago, they could have run roughshod over the defense for what happened in court. The prosecution had a great day. They got everything they wanted admitted. The defense did basically nothing. Third day and fourth day have been great, but that second day was brutal for them, and the papers could have run it. But what are they running with? Kyle yawned while accused of murdering men.
I bet you the prosecutors yawned more than once, and I bet you people yawned on the jury. I bet you the judge yawned. Lawyers generally go like this.
The big boy prosecutor yesterday, he looked like he was literally asleep.
Falling asleep.
While Binger was talking. He's sitting there, his eyes are down. It looks like his eyes are closed. And of course it does. You're there for 9 hours. That guy knows. Today, I have no job. I have nothing to do but be here. Same thing with Kyle.
So hard.
I'm going to sit here for... Kyle Rittenhouse, by the way, is an 18-year-old kid who's going to sit in court for 8 to 9 hours a day for 2 straight weeks and listen to language he doesn't understand from people he's never met. Like,
Right.
Look how boring we were the other day. Look how boring we were the other day. We watched
Yeah.
it. We know what's going on. We're doing this because we want to do it, and we're
Yeah.
recording it now.
And that's the thing that's so hard about being a defendant. I mean, in any kind of a trial, obviously you have the jury that's watching you the whole time, but in this kind of a case, especially that has so much media attention, you know that there is always a camera trained on the defendant because they're just waiting for a moment like that. They're waiting for it.
Yep.
And even if that was literally the one moment out of 10 hours of him sitting there, just one tiny moment of him yawning because, I'm sorry, he had a little bit of too much O2
Lunch.
in his body, right? Yeah, or lunch or something, you know? Like
The fact
like,
that he can't sleep because he's on trial, which if he's guilty, he'll go to prison for literally ever.
And
Right.
he can't, like, how do you sit still for that long? These are long days. I mean,
They are.
LA has much shorter trial days than this. These are long trial days for people. And that the jury's tired, the lawyers are tired, the defendant is tired. Those in the
Yeah.
courtroom are tired, and they can get up and walk out and go take a walk and then come back. Kyle doesn't have that option.
The only person who's not tired is the judge because he has the mandate of God infused into him, and he read that in Leviticus, which he will now recite to the jury.
The judge is pretty great.
I love
I
this
really
judge.
like him.
Again,
I love
love
when
this judge.
the book when he threw it away. He was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is." He said, "Oh, it's wrong." He's like, "This is why we don't like these people." He goes into the trash. He's like, "We need another book." I'm like, "That's so gangster, right?" He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this book was in- yeah, fuck yeah."
I keep going back to this idea. If you're a criminal defense attorney and Kyle is your client, there's no amount of money on earth that you could pay to get this judge. You love this judge, and because he has a judicial ideology. It's consistently applied, and it somewhat follows the rules. It doesn't fully follow the rules or whatever. He's got his own take on it, but his take is comprehensible, it's cognizable, you can strategize around it. There's nothing on earth you want more than a judge who will do this for you and your client.
And I love that he was willing to get the book out and open it up and
Yes.
go through it with them. Like okay,
This
let's
is what
go
it
through this
says.
together to see if everybody kind of
And that's
agrees
what
on
good
this.
judges do.
Exactly.
Good judges are like, look, if you want to tell me something I don't know, tell me something I don't know. If you want to help me see it your way, help me see it your way.
Yes.
They're there as a neutral arbitrator, and they're there willing to take in new information instead of, no, I'm the judge, everything I say is right. No one's always right.
I know everything. I hate those judges.
I want to ask you guys a question about the the propensity stuff that happened in the character evidence.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that if I'm at the defense and they have there was the grand aunt up there,
Right.
I would have let her testify, right? She's a
Yes.
great boy. He's this, and then I say, well, listen, now I want to now hit her with the character evidence, right? Well, you said he's so peaceful. Did you know that he had this? You know that he was arrested for holding a knife to somebody's throat and yelling this. Did you know? You know. Oh, yeah,
I was
what do you
kind of
think
wondering
about
the
these?
same.
Like,
I was kind of wondering the same thing.
why stop it? I'm like, it's horrible. Why not let it go?
I think what happened was this. They had a motion in limine on these prior acts, and they wanted to get the matter before the judge. And what they worried about was it's the gamble. We can let this character testimony in, and then we can try and enter the evidence, and then the prosecution's going to object, and we have to argue this, or we can object to his general character evidence now, where we get to categorize him as an assailant, and they know they can't counter it. We get to do that, and then they're objecting. We get to make our argument and say, okay, well, you can object, but if you do this, we bring in his past character. In general, I fully agree with you. I think what the defense did is they made a risk assessment and they said, we may lose if we let this in and object. I think that's a wrong risk assessment. I think it's
yeah.
I think they got it wrong. to be clear, I think they, if they would have let her testify to his good character of running in to stop a fire,
opens the door.
that they
Yeah,
got
the
him.
door's wide open. And I would have said,
Yeah.
Judge, what else? What do you want me to do? And again, I'm not bringing it for propensity purposes.
They
I
kicked
want
down the
to know
door.
her extent. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
You know, and the judge is
Because
stuck.
do you have the same opinion? If you know this, if you know this, if you know this, I just need to know what you think good means. We need to get to the same definition of good. Yes, I'll be talking about propensity later because the government's seeking to introduce it in the Duggar case. So we'll be talking about it.
No,
For what purpose?
I think your
motive?
general assessment is 100% right. They should have let it in. They should have taken the gamble. I'm just making the argument that they looked at the gamble and they weren't 100% sure, so they decided, look, if we keep this guy's character evidence out, and it is some level of, I don't know if it's a Kafka-esque trap or if it's a Faustian trap or whatever. They get to now say whenever they want that Chuck Huber. Sorry, that's a different Huber that I also don't like. Anthony Huber. Anthony Huber is the first aggressor,